Hi, good afternoon, good day, good morning. I don't know where you are in the world, but hello, my name is Danielle Wilson. And Carolyn has asked me to be an expert in this group to talk about basically growing your business using your metrics and your statistics and all of the numbers in your business to make better decisions so that you can actually grow and do that in a way that is strategic and intentional. I talk a lot about making data-based decisions and rather than using intuition. So just so you know, if you're into human design at all, I'm an emotional generator, which means that I actually need to process emotions very, very much so before I take action on things. So it's kind of a weird mix that I'm such an emotional person as well as being such a numbers and data-driven person. But if you think about it, being a person that does kind of get ruled by my emotions, it's probably been a good thing that in my life I've kind of imposed this structure on myself um, to force myself to be just a little bit more data driven. And the reason for that is sometimes when we're making decisions based on emotions, we make them based on what our emotional state is in this moment, and our emotions change. What you are upset about in this moment as a reaction to something could turn into understanding and compassion 5 minutes down the road. So if you made a decision based on your current hurt rather than your future compassion and understanding, you could actually be making decisions that, well, as I say to my husband, cut your nose off to spite your face, right? And so those aren't always the best decisions that we can make. So this is why I like to promote the idea of using data to make your decisions. And one of the things that Carolyn loves about what I do on my Facebook wall or profile is that I'm a giant experimenter. Um, Over the course of the last 30, 35 years, I have been everything from a senior leader to the owner to the CEO to the person that, made your coffee in a drive-through and everything in between. And part of that is because I get bored easily. That is part of it. But the other part of it is that I'm not attached to any one way of doing things. The lovely thing about that, though, is that it's given me a lot of exposure to understanding kind of human nature in terms of how we make decisions. And so this is where a lot of this has come from. And so what I do on my own Facebook profile is I actually run a lot of experiments on social media because you can read all the articles you want by Hootsuite or Sprout Social, or heck, even by, Zuck himself. You can read all the articles you want about what the algorithm should do theoretically. You can do that, or you can start to play with it yourself. And that's what I'm really, that's kind of my nature, is to play with things. I like to experiment. I don't like to take the status quo and just believe it or agree with it. I like to challenge it. I'm sure that teachers and parents in the past would tell you that that was one of my most infuriating things as a child, but it was one of the things that has made me so successful as an adult, is my unwillingness to accept everything at face value. I need to test for myself. I'm definitely the kind of person that wants to test it for myself to prove it. Because the other thing that it lets me do is it lets me understand. It lets me understand when something goes wrong, when something doesn't happen the way you expected it should, the way the theory taught you it should. When that doesn't happen, why didn't it? So this allows us to be able to figure out where the changes were, okay? So today what I want to talk to you about is I want to talk to you about using your insights, using professional mode on your Facebook profile. You could also use these if you've got a page, for example, if you've got a Facebook page or if you've got a Facebook group. The insights that are being provided to you about how far your post is going, how many people are seeing it, how many people are interacting with it. It also gives you information about where in the world people are from, also gives you information about, oh gosh, what kinds of interactions, how many people are unfollowing you, how many people are adding to your audience. It's just got just a wealth of information available in your insights dashboard. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about using those insights to understand how to make a decision that's going to help you make sure that you achieve your goals. Because when you're looking at how your posts are performing, you could make a lot of assumptions, right? If you've got a post that you put out, you thought, oh my gosh, that's my best work ever. And then you hear, I was going to try to do a cricket noise. I've tried to do cricket noises before and I don't, it sounds more like a baby bird. But so we'll just forget that. We'll just say, if you're getting crickets on your posts, imagine it's a post that you spent a lot of time crafting, you put your heart and soul into it, and it's a really important thing to be put out there. Maybe it's your offer post. Maybe it's just a post about helping people to understand your philosophy. Maybe it's a post about your process, right? Depending on where you are in your weekly cycle of what posts you're putting out, it could be any or all of the above. And those could be really important that we get more people looking at them, because when we put all this effort into, I don't want to call it chasing, but finding leads on Facebook, let's face it, it's not as easy as it looks at first, is it? All that time that you're spending going out into different places trying to find people, whether you're using a more passive approach, which would be to add people as a result of Facebook's suggested friends, or whether you're going out into groups, you've put a significant amount of time and energy into actually gathering and bringing an audience in, right? Why would you do that if your content is not going to get in front of them? And so our whole goal then really is to increase our reach. Reach is equivalent to the number of impressions. So if you've ever worked in an environment where you were exposed to marketing terms, the number of impressions is what reach is. The other metric that you might hear a lot about is engagement, your engagement rate, for example. And if you look at your professional insights, there are two columns. One of them is post reach, and the other one is engagement. And that engagement is literally about how many people are interacting with your post. Okay, so that's about the people who are doing some kind of a reaction, whether it's a heart or a like, or the care or the wow or that laugh, whatever it is. So some kind of reaction, a comment of some sort, whether it's love this or whether it's a novel, it doesn't matter, but a comment of some sort, and a share. Those are the three ways that a person can interact with your post, and Facebook calls it engagement. Okay. Reach, on the other hand, is literally just the number of screens that your post scrolled past. It does not mean those people read your post. And that's a really important metric to understand, is it does not mean that they read your post. And your post is one of hundreds, potentially thousands, that are scrolling across every person's newsfeed that you are connected with. Sorry, it's no longer called newsfeed. So, for example, I have 1,500 followers on my profile. And if you were looking at my metrics, it will tell you that in a 4-day or 5-day period, my posts reached 1,700 people. But wait a minute, you only have 1,500 people on your friends list, Danielle. How is that possible? So if you've ever thought that question, this hopefully is the explanation. It's not about how many individual people saw your post. It's about basically how many screens did your post scroll on past through, okay? So if you are like me and you're back on Facebook frequently throughout the day, trying to answer your comments, then what could happen is you could actually see one of your friends post 5 times in the day, couldn't you? As you're scrolling along, you could actually see that same post over and over and over again. Each and every time that post scrolled across your feed, that's actually being added to their metrics. So when we're looking at the number that's under reach, I want you to know that although that's an important number, don't take it overly seriously. We're going to talk in just a second about what you would actually use that number for. The other thing that you've probably heard before is that likes and comments are just vanity metrics. And okay, I'll agree that that is true. But there's a difference in the quality of interaction that can happen that can tell you whether or not that's just a vanity metric. But the other thing about those vanity metrics is that those vanity metrics actually determine how much further your post is going to get. So what I do for business is I actually organize and run social boosting groups. So they're engagement and reach collaboration groups, if you will, they're pods. What we all do is we work together to ensure that each other's posts are being given as much attention as possible and being driven as far out into Facebook land as possible. One of the ways that we do that is we leave a post on a thread and we're all going off and we're making comments. An important thing to know, though, is that the quality of the comment matters. So if you're going to join any kind of a boosting pod or an engagement group, I want to strongly suggest to you that you look for one that has comment training in it as well, and possibly even content creation training. I'm going to go in at certain times in a future live with you guys talking about how to write better content that gets you higher engagement. But for right now, we're literally just talking about that engagement in that region, understanding how that is going to tell you the story of, should I post more often? Should I grow my audience more? Or should I be going out and doing something else entirely? Okay, so I'm going to see if I can get my screen shared here. And one of the reasons that I'm doing this as a video for you is because I don't have permission to share my screen into Zoom, or sorry, through Zoom into Carolyn's group. So this is a pre-recorded video, I'm so sorry, rather than a live, which was my original intention. I hope that's okay for everybody. What you're looking at right now, over here on the left-hand side with the green spots, this is my lead to client tracker, and this is a tool that I share with all of my clients to help us understand what is it that is the goal that we're striving for. So I'm going to start by talking about a monthly goal, and I'm going to give you some numbers. And the first number I'm going to give you is $5,000. So from this specific program, my social boosting groups, I am looking to bring $5,000 per month into my business from this specific program. So I'm doing this based on that specific program for now. What that means is $60,000 a year. So whether you look at it from a monthly goal or an annual goal, the tracker can certainly help you to do either one. And then we need to think about, what is the price per client? In my case, it's $97 a month to be part of that boosting group. Well, unless you're getting in on this low introductory price. But we're going to use the $97 so that we can get a better understanding of, going forward, how many people do I need to be signing up? And I hope you saw that when I put in that $97, right, it changed this field down here. See where it says number of new clients needed? That's the field I'd like you to keep an eye on. So as soon as I put my price in, it tells us, oh, Danielle, you need 51.5 new clients every month in order to achieve that $5,000 month and hit that $60,000 in income from this program, okay? So I need 52 people to say yes. That means I actually need to be making offers, having conversations, sending my link, engaging in some way, shape, or form with people and saying, hey, would you like to buy my stuff? I need to do that 64 times every month. When you think about that, that means a minimum of 2 per day, every day for 30 days, right? So now I'm going to take you over here. We've got a little spreadsheet under there. But first I want to show you, this is just a screenshot of my last 4 days of engagement. And as you're looking at it, you'll see that there are some posts that have a 0 reach. Now, I hope you can see that. If you're on your screen for your phone, it might be a little bit too small, but I'll see what I can do. Right, so you can see that some have a 0 reach. All that means is that it did not quite reach 100 people. Your insights will only start to kick in once you have 100 views on it, okay? So what we're going to look at now then is we're going to look at the impressions compared to how many posts, how many comments, and how much reach we need to get each month. This is going to help you to decide, do I need to have a bigger audience or do I need to post more often? All right, that's what we're deciding right now. So as we're looking at this, we see right here, okay, I need 64 people that I'm going to make an offer to every month. All right, here, let me see if I can get this to come over. Of all of the posts that I made in those 4 days from February 20th to 24th, I got a total of 1,194 impressions. Now, really, that equals 238 impressions a day. And I said to you that impressions are not really that important in the sense of not using that as its own decision-making tool. Instead, it's really more often about the reach, because when the engagement, when your engagement increases, it means that Facebook then pushes out your post to even more people to look at. So reach is impressions, and impressions would be the same as sitting at home and watching a television program and an ad comes on, but you get up and you walk over to the kitchen and you decide you're going to get yourself a snack. That ad is still playing in the TV, on the TV in the background. And sure, you might be hearing some of it subliminally, but it's unlikely that you're giving it too much attention. So this is why the number of impressions is not the be all and end all, because it does not mean that this was a person that was actively engaging with your advertising in any way, shape, or form. So what we really want to do is we want to say, out of all of those people who saw it, how many of these people are actually a lead? Okay. And I'm just going to stop the screen share for a minute. And the reason I'm going to stop that is because when we think about it, I want to make sure that we have a common understanding of what a lead is. A lead is not just a person who saw your stuff. Okay, a lead is not just a person who left a heart or a like on your post or said, love this. That doesn't make them a lead. That could just be somebody who's trying to show you support, right? A lead is somebody who has in some way, shape, or form engaged with you and your product or your offer in some way that indicates, I have the problem that you solve and I'm looking to solve it, okay? So maybe they downloaded your freebie. Maybe they've had a previous discovery call with you. Maybe they sent you a DM that says, can you tell me more about this? Or maybe it was even unrelated to this, but something else that you've done gave them such an impression that you could help them solve something else that they reached out to you in DM or they left a comment. But just having human connection on posts does not in itself make a person a lead, okay? It's only once they've actually given some kind of expressed interest that that's when they become a lead. And there's a difference between being a warm lead, which means, okay, yeah, sure, they've demonstrated that they might have the problem and that they could benefit from the solution. But they don't become a hot lead until they express in some way, shape, or form, tell me more, booking an appointment, give me that freebie. It's not until they do something a little bit more that says, now I'm ready to solve my problem. Now that's when, in my mind, they become a hot lead. And different coaches will suggest different things. And when I was a coach, I had my own. Now I'm a growth strategist. So what I'm doing is a little bit different. My definitions about what a lead is. If you have a coach that's telling you that a lead means something else, obviously I want you to think for yourself on this, not just take everything I say at face value. Because isn't that what I said in the beginning? Question everything. Question everything. Okay, so the reason that we need to kind of say if the total impressions is 1,200, how many of those were actually leads? And it's going to be very low. The reason I only choose about a 5% amount to be that lead is because, as I said earlier, there's the potential for repeat impressions. You know, the number of times you leave and come back to Facebook, or as you're scrolling along and your friend's post got yet 2 or 3 more comments on it, and suddenly that pops it back up to the top of the newsfeed again. All of those kinds of things can create repeat impressions, right? So we want to be able to exclude that. And because we don't know, because Facebook's metrics don't tell us which ones were repeat, it doesn't tell us unique visitors the way that your website analytics will. This is giving you the sum total. It's giving you all of them. The other thing could be, do we know for certain that every person in your audience is an ideal client? We don't. Earlier today in 2 of my appointments, I specifically asked my 2 clients, hey guys, what is your confidence that every person in your audience is an ideal client? And surprisingly, the first gentleman said 25%, and the second one said, I think it's about 40%. So really speaking, you have a collection of people in your audience that go well beyond your ideal client avatar. So just because you're making 1,100 impressions out of the 1,200 people that you're friends with, doesn't mean that all of them were potential clients, does it? And so this is kind of like going back to that television commercial example again. It's kind of like that. The reason that advertisers would put the same ad on multiple times for the same TV show was because it's something called a top of mind awareness campaign. What they're trying to do is they're trying to just be the thing that's always at the top of your mind. Every time you think of toothpaste, think of Colgate. Every time you think of toothpaste, think of Colgate. Every time you think of toothpaste, think of Colgate Crest. Every time you think of toothpaste, think of Colgate. So what's happening is, imagine it is Colgate and Crest, right? They're fighting it out and trying to give you a stronger impression of their brand than their competitors. That's all it's about. It's not about putting somebody else down. It's really literally just about making more of an impression on you. So when you're doing your posting, it's important for you to remember, not everybody that sees your post is actually going to be a potential client. And not everybody in your audience that is a potential client is going to see every one of your posts. So that top of mind awareness is this important thing for you to understand in terms of concepts, so that you don't feel like, I can't say it again. I can't repeat that post again. Of course you can. Absolutely you can. The reason advertising works is because of repetition. If we only say something once and expect that they remember what we said, that's ego. That's ego talking. That's a matter of you thinking, well, it was important and I put it out this one time, but that doesn't mean that they saw it. You are one voice, one post in a sea of thousands that has the potential to come across. They may or may not have read it. Your picture may not have totally tweaked their interest this time. Your opening line may not have been of interest enough for them to keep reading. So even sometimes people who typically interact on your posts won't keep reading on a post. And so we can't make assumptions. Again, can't make assumptions. We want to use data as much as possible. Let's go back to that spreadsheet again, shall we? See if we can do this. Spreadsheet, here we go. Okay, so 1,194 initial impressions. We're going to say that maybe plus or minus, it could be 6%, it could be 4%, heck, it could even go up to 10% sometimes. But if you keep a standard measure for yourself, and I keep a 5%, you'll always be measuring against the same level. So we're going to say that based on all of those things that I just shared with you, the one I didn't talk about was that they're not in the market for it right now. Because of all of those reasons, we're going to say that 95% of those impressions that were made are actually not lead generating. They're not helping a person to move themselves through our lead and decision-making process. So 5% of that 1,194 is actually only 60. So right away, we could say to ourselves, wow, 1,194 people saw all of those posts. And let me just bring this picture back for you and show all of those posts, right? Like that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's why I did that, because it was a nice, easy number, 10. Look at me go. Okay, so out of the 10, then that really means, oh my, divide that by 10, and we're talking 6 people. 6 potential leads per post at most. And a lead is not a sale. A lead is an opportunity, right? So this is why, as you start to see that it breaks down based on the realities of what's happening out in the real world in terms of Facebook's algorithm, how many people is it showing to? Which people is it showing them to? At what time is it showing them to? Are they on at that time? There's so many potential ways to use these metrics to help us make better decisions. In the meantime, though, we're now going to say, okay, so 6 people are the ones that are potentially ready to act. And that was in the 5 days. It's just an interesting coincidence that it lined up. So we're talking now about taking those 60 people, okay? So in the last 5 days, 60 potential leads came forward. Let me just come back over to this over here. Down here, we said we needed 64 leads, right, to hit that 52 if we have my close rate. The problem is, this is all estimations, isn't it? So based on estimations, I'm saying that really we had 6 people we could have potentially talked to, not 64. The warm leads are not people we're directly making offers to. The 6 are people we're directly making offers to. Because just because we made an impression on people with the 60 out of the 1,200 does not mean that they're specifically ready to buy. Is this making sense? If it's not making sense, feel free to leave a comment below. I will come back for sure. It's a little bit challenging because I'm not live. I am forgetting to say, hey, interact with me in some way, shape, or form. Maybe leave a heart, maybe leave a comment, but ask lots of questions. I know that these kinds of lives are going to, what are they going to do? They're going to engender a lot of questions. I'm okay with that. Feel free to reach out to me in my DMs. Feel free to leave the comments here. I'm absolutely open to answering any and all questions. Numbers make sense to me. Let me start with that. Numbers make sense to me. So if I'm going too quickly and you'd like me to take you through the exercise yourself, maybe one-on-one, reach out. We can have a conversation. I can potentially do that with you, okay? So we had 1,200 impressions in the last 5 days of posts. Of those 1,200 impressions, if only 5% were actually potential clients, it means we really only spoke to potentially 60 people, maybe. That's if we're lucky, who had an interest in what we might be doing, have the problem that we solve, and might be ready to start looking at solving it. But it's more likely that only 10% of those 60 were in a place right now that they were ready to act, okay? So we're saying that 10% of those 60 people are actually who we're marketing to. That's who we're really truly marketing to, is those 6 people. So really then, what that's saying to us is, oh my gosh, we've only got 10% of our total goal, which is that 64. So that means we need to multiply this. We need to multiply that number by 10. Okay. So by multiplying that number by 10, we really need 11,000 impressions in 4 or 5 days in order to be able to make our monthly goal. That's a lot of people. So 12,000 impressions is what I know I need to make. What that means for me, though, what that really means for me is I need to make a decision. I'm going to come back to that for 1 second. Come back there. Let's see if I can get that to come back up. Come back up. There it is. Okay. So I'm going to see if I can make that just a little bit smaller. So we know we need to make these 12,000 impressions, right? 12,000 impressions is over the course of a month in order to achieve this monthly goal. 12,000 impressions. Right now I'm making 1,200 in 5 days, right? So 1,200 in 5 days, and there are 30 days, which means there'll be a times 6. 7,200. There you go. Actually, you know what? I just realized that's not making sense. Let's divide this. This was the number I meant to do, guys. Sorry, divide that by 31. It means we need to make 381 impressions. That's what I was trying to say. 381 impressions per day is what we're saying. 381 impressions per day minimum in order to be able to get 64 leads talking to us. Well, right now, as you can see, 238 compared to 381 per day. I'm falling short. Sorry, I was muffled. I'm falling short. So what that says to me is, okay, Danielle, you've got to make something change. What are you going to change? So the first thing I could do is, well, I could post more often. That's one thing I could do. Because if each post in that case, then, let's see, that was 5 days, and there was an average of 2 posts. Okay, so if I was doing that as an average of 2 posts, and that really means there was really only an average of 120 impressions per post, which again, if you looked at those numbers on that screenshot that I showed you, 120 impressions per post. I need to make 12,000 in a month. 12,000 divided by 120. That's 100 posts, my friends. If you've got time and energy to make 100 posts that you are then going to nurture, follow up on the comments, and do everything you possibly can to ensure that it's getting that minimum 100 person reach, then by all means. The other option could be increase the size of your audience, right? So right now I have a maximum of 1,600 people that this could potentially be reaching. If I were to increase the number of people in my audience, then what that means is that I'm speaking to a broader range, right? It's one of the reasons that people who are looking at where they're going to spend their advertising dollars might ask, for example, they're thinking of doing an ad in a magazine. They'll say to the magazine publisher, tell me how many people this is going into circulation for, compared to a newspaper. And then they're thinking about target demography and all of these other things. So what we're really talking about doing then with these Facebook metrics is really deciding, do I need to post more often? Do I need to grow my audience? Or do I need to look at, well, that's interesting. Why did this one post, and I'm going to show you this. Whoops. That went awry. Sorry, that went a little bit too big. Let me show you this post here again and see if we can see that. Share the screen again, share the screen again. Here we go. So I hope you can see this. Can you see on here, right? You see how as we're scrolling up and down on here, 173, 111, 107, 144, 130, 269 with 152 engagement. Wowzers, that is significantly different than all of these other posts. Why? So now you can get curious with yourself. Now you can get curious with the information and you can say to yourself, okay, so what was different about this one compared to the other, right? Compared to the others. Was it the time of day that it was posted? Do I need to be making my post at a specific time of day? Was it that that one had a specific color background on it? Was it that that one had a specific kind of graphic with it? Was it the topic? Was that a short post? Was that a long post? Was it a video? You see what I'm saying? So you can now start to actually analyze what you're putting up and make better decisions about what your audience is looking for. Because here's one of the things I know after 12 months of experimenting. Facebook is paying attention to all of those things. Facebook is paying attention to where in the world is your audience. They're paying attention to what kind of content does your audience typically like to consume. If all you do are long form posts, but the people in your audience typically like to watch reels under 2 minutes long, the likelihood that your stuff is going to be shown to them is low. So this is an argument in favor of trying a whole bunch of different post styles and seeing what works. And I will always encourage some experimentation. But I will say to you, the point of experimenting is to collect the data, to not just do it willy-nilly, right? Is that still an expression these days? So it's not to do it randomly. It's to do it with intention. It's to do it with structure. And so what I want to suggest to you is if you don't currently use Facebook professional mode, if you are interested in learning a little bit more about how to be better at analyzing and managing your time on Facebook, creating better habits so that you can minimize the amount of time that you're actually on this platform and actually spend more time doing the things you love to do. Maybe that's going to the park with your kids. Maybe that's sitting in a spa tub and just soaking up the bubbles. Maybe that's spending some quality time with your husband. Maybe it's going for a walk. Maybe it's, making dinner tonight for a change. Who knows what it could be. If you are interested in getting more time back in your life for you to do the things that you love and less time, basically throwing spaghetti at the wall, which is really what we're doing when we're experimenting without intention or without a strategic plan, without these insights, then let's agree that turning on professional mode is probably in your best interest, okay? Professional mode, I want you to know, is not going to change a whole heck of a lot in terms of what your family and friends are going to see, those kinds of things. What it really will do is it changes the dynamics a little bit about how your posts are being shared. That's about it. You may find that you actually get a slight bump in your reach in the beginning. And unless you start using those insights, you might see that it starts to, backslide a little bit. But professional mode will actually give you a bit of a bump in your reach initially. And then you can start to look at what those insights are and decide, should I be posting at this time of day or this time of day, right? If you're in New Zealand, for example, and all of your audience are in the United States, and imagine you then start saying, okay, well, I'm going to start posting at what for you is, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because everything you've read says that you should be posting between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. If you're in New Zealand and your audience are over in the States, and let's imagine they're even on the East Coast, for example, you're actually posting while they're asleep. And so this, right? You see what I'm saying? So understanding these things will really have an effect. I could go into so much, but I think I'll stop here if that's okay. I always have my door open. If you have any questions, if you've got any comments, if you want to learn anything, if you want to find out anything, if you want me to expand on something, send me a message. I love receiving your messages. I don't initiate DMs, but I love responding to them. Excuse me, my voice is going froggy. I'm a voice note person as well. The reason I'm a voice note person is because I do have a tendency to get a little bit detailed. So if you don't like voice notes, let me know when you send me that message, and let me know that you would really rather have a written message, okay? All right, everybody, thank you so much for spending time with me today. I hope you found this helpful. I do feel a little bit frazzled, only because I had to do this as a video, and I probably let that sit in my mind of this was supposed to be a live video, not a recorded one, Danielle. So I may have been a little bit all over the place, but I'm going to go and rewatch it now, and hopefully it all makes sense. You'll see it very soon. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I look forward to getting to know you all, and I hope that you'll realize and believe that using your insights can help you make better decisions about your habits on Facebook, so that you can actually reach more people with less effort. All right, thanks so much, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Bye for now.